Your messy laundry isn't just clutter, it's a window into your brain's inner workings. Whether you're the person with 17 throw pillows or someone whose floor doubles as a walk-in closet, your bedroom reveals more about your personality than you realize. Environmental psychology research shows that strangers can predict key personality traits from a 15-minute room tour. I'll show you 3 quick clues your room is secretly broadcasting about who you are. From that mysterious single sock to your collection of empty water bottles, every item placement tells a story about your mind. Here's the thing that would probably horrify you if you really thought about it. Your bedroom is a psychological crime scene. Your bedroom reveals more authentic details about your personality than your carefully curated Instagram feed ever could. While you spend hours crafting the perfect online persona, your private space is casually broadcasting your deepest psychological patterns to anyone who walks through the door. That single shoe hiding under your bed and those empty water bottles on your nightstand are basically writing your psychological profile in real time. Every single item in your room has a story to tell about who you are. The way you stack your books, where you throw your clothes, how many pillows you need to feel comfortable, even the specific corner where you charge your phone, all these seemingly random choices paint a detailed portrait of your inner workings. Your environment becomes a psychological billboard advertising exactly who you are when nobody's watching. The scary part is how strangers can walk into your room and immediately start piecing together your personality. They notice things you stopped seeing months ago. That chair buried under 3 weeks of laundry tells them about your relationship with organization and future planning. The collection of coffee cups scattered across your desk reveals your stress levels and daily habits. The way you arrange your photos shows them how you process relationships and memories. You probably think your bedroom is your private sanctuary where you can let your guard down and be yourself. The reality is that letting your guard down creates the most honest personality assessment possible. You're not performing for anyone or trying to impress anybody, so your natural patterns emerge in their purest form. The person who color coordinates their closet, but has a junk drawer that could swallow small children, is telling a very specific story about their psychological priorities. Environmental psychology is a legitimate scientific field that studies how our surroundings reflect and shape our mental states. In one study, strangers predicted students' conscientiousness, emotional stability, and openness more accurately than friends, simply by scanning their dorm rooms for 15 minutes. Your bedroom organization patterns, decoration choices, and daily maintenance habits all provide measurable data about your personality dimensions. The science shows that your environment is essentially your personality made visible. Take the person who owns 17 phone chargers, but can never find one when they need it. This seemingly random quirk actually reveals specific information about their planning abilities, stress management, and relationship with technology. The person who keeps their high school yearbook prominently displayed 20 years later is making a statement about their connection to the past and their identity formation process. The individual who has motivational quotes taped to their mirror is showing how they regulate their emotions and self-talk patterns. Your bedroom habits reveal personality traits that you might not even recognize in yourself. The person who makes their bed every morning but leaves dishes in the sink for days has a very specific psychological profile. Someone who needs complete darkness to sleep but keeps their phone within arm's reach is demonstrating particular patterns about control and connectivity. The individual who has multiple backup alarms but still runs late shows distinct traits about anxiety and time management. What makes this even more fascinating is that different bedroom elements reveal different aspects of your personality. Your organization level shows one dimension, your decoration choices reveal another, and your daily maintenance patterns expose yet another layer. The person who has perfectly organized books but clothes scattered everywhere is painting a complex picture of their psychological priorities and energy allocation. If you knew that people were constantly reading your personality through your bedroom choices, you'd probably arrange things differently. You might think twice about that mountain of clean laundry that's been living on your chair for 3 weeks. You'd probably reconsider whether you really need 14 different lip balms on your nightstand. The knowledge that your space is being psychologically analyzed would change how you interact with your environment. The truth is that your bedroom reveals patterns you're not even conscious of creating. You don't deliberately choose to leave your shoes in that specific spot or decide to stack your books in that particular way. These choices happen automatically based on your personality structure and psychological needs. Your unconscious mind is constantly organizing your space according to your internal blueprint, and that blueprint is readable by people who understand environmental psychology. Your room shows how you process information, handle stress, relate to others, and manage your emotional state. The person who needs 7 different lighting options is revealing something specific about their sensory processing and mood regulation. Someone who keeps their room completely sparse might be showing particular patterns about stimulation tolerance and mental clarity needs. The individual who surrounds themselves with sentimental objects is demonstrating specific approaches to memory and emotional connection. The most interesting part is how your bedroom betrays your personality through 3 distinct categories of evidence. Every single item and arrangement pattern falls into one of these 3 psychological categories, and together they create a complete personality profile that's often more accurate than formal personality tests. Your conscious choices, unconscious habits, and emotional regulation strategies all leave different types of evidence that trained observers can read and interpret. The research shows that your bedroom is essentially a personality test that you're taking continuously without realizing it. Every time you decide where to put something, how to arrange your furniture, or what to display on your walls, you're providing data about your psychological makeup. The person who has their diploma prominently displayed next to their participation trophy collection is telling a very specific story about their achievement orientation and self-esteem patterns. Your room reveals whether you're naturally social or solitary, organized or creative, anxious or calm, agreeable or independent, and open to new experiences or preferring familiar patterns. These fundamental personality dimensions show up in measurable ways through your environmental choices, and strangers can often read these patterns more accurately than your closest friends because they're not influenced by their personal knowledge of you. The reality is that your bedroom is constantly confessing your deepest psychological secrets to anyone who knows how to read the evidence. That pile of books you've been meaning to read reveals your aspirations and self-image. The way you arrange your furniture shows your social preferences and control needs. Even that mysterious collection of random objects on your dresser tells a story about your cognitive patterns and emotional processing style. But how exactly does this psychological detective work actually function? The 3 ways your room snitches on you. Your bedroom reveals your personality through 3 specific psychological categories that work like detective investigators, each collecting different types of evidence about who you really are. These categories expose your deepest patterns, whether you want them to or not. And understanding them helps you decode anyone's personality just by analyzing their personal space. The first category is identity claims, which are deliberate statements you make about yourself through your belongings. These are conscious choices designed to broadcast specific messages about your personality and interests. Think about someone who displays their college diploma next to their guitar collection. They're claiming both intellectual achievement and creative identity. The person with an alphabetized book collection organized by genre is making a clear statement about their literary sophistication and organizational nature. Identity claims show up through strategic placement of meaningful objects. The individual who keeps travel photos prominently displayed is broadcasting their adventurous spirit and worldliness. Someone who has awards and certificates visible on their walls is claiming achievement and recognition. These items function as your personal marketing campaign, communicating your values and aspirations to anyone who enters your space. The fascinating part is how these claims reveal not just who you are, but who you want to be perceived as being. The second category is behavioral residue, which consists of accidental clues you leave behind without realizing it. This residue accumulates naturally through your daily habits and routines, creating an honest record of your actual behavior patterns. That chair buried under 3 weeks of laundry is pure behavioral residue. You didn't consciously decide to create a clothing mountain as a personality statement. It happened because of your natural patterns around organization and energy allocation. Behavioral residue tells the most honest story about your personality because it's completely unintentional. The person with 17 coffee cups scattered around their room is revealing their actual drinking habits and relationship with cleanliness. Someone whose nightstand has accumulated multiple lip balms, reading glasses, and phone chargers is showing their patterns around preparation and material attachment. The individual with takeout containers hidden under their bed is demonstrating their eating habits and possibly their relationship with convenience or shame. This residue reflects your repeated behaviors and unconscious choices. The person who always throws their keys in the same random spot is creating evidence of their consistency patterns and spatial memory. Someone with sketch papers scattered around their desk is leaving traces of their creative process and work habits. The individual with exercise equipment buried under laundry is showing the gap between their intentions and actual behavior patterns. The third category is thoughts and feelings regulators, which are objects and arrangements you use to control your emotional state and mental atmosphere. These are conscious choices you make to create specific feelings in your space. The person with multiple throw pillows scattered across their bed is using comfort objects to regulate their emotional state and create security. Someone with various lighting options, including string lights, lamps, and candles, is trying to control their mood and energy levels through environmental manipulation. Thoughts and feelings regulators reveal your emotional needs and coping strategies. The person with inspirational quotes taped to their mirror is using visual reminders to regulate their self-talk and motivation levels. Someone who keeps essential oils, candles, and meditation cushions prominently displayed is creating tools for stress management and emotional regulation. The individual with blackout curtains, white noise machines, and multiple alarm clocks is regulating their sleep environment and anxiety levels around rest and time management. These regulatory objects show how you manage your internal emotional landscape. The person with plants everywhere is using nature elements to create calm and nurturing feelings. Someone with a collection of stuffed animals or comfort objects is regulating feelings of security and emotional connection. The individual with exercise equipment visible and easily accessible is using physical activity as an emotional regulation strategy. The fascinating part is how these three categories work together to create a complete personality profile. Your identity claims might say you're organized and professional, but your behavioral residue reveals that you're actually scattered and overwhelmed. Your thoughts and feelings regulators might show that you need multiple comfort objects and mood management tools, which contradicts the confident image you're trying to project through your identity claims. The person who displays marathon medals but has exercise equipment gathering dust is telling a complex story about their identity aspirations versus their current behavioral patterns. These three categories help explain why strangers can sometimes read your personality more accurately than your friends. Your friends focus on your identity claims because those are the messages you're consciously trying to send. Strangers notice your behavioral residue and emotional regulation patterns because they're not distracted by your intended self-presentation. They see the evidence of your actual habits and emotional needs, rather than the story you're trying to tell about yourself. Understanding these categories helps you decode anyone's personality by looking at their environmental choices. The person with multiple organizational systems that aren't actually being used is revealing specific patterns about their relationship with structure and follow-through. Someone with comfort objects scattered throughout their space, but also stress relief items prominently displayed, is showing their emotional regulation strategies and anxiety management approaches. Every single item in your room falls into one of these three categories. Your coffee mug collection might be behavioral residue from your actual drinking habits, an identity claim about your sophisticated taste, or a feelings regulator that provides comfort and routine. That pile of books on your nightstand could be residue from your reading habits, a claim about your intellectual interests, or a regulator that makes you feel productive and educated. These three categories work together like a psychological investigation team, each providing different types of evidence about your personality structure. Your room is essentially a continuous personality test that you're taking without realizing it, and these categories provide the framework for reading the results. But here's where it gets really interesting. Certain personality types create completely different environmental signatures that you can spot immediately. The extrovert's bedroom giveaways. Extroverts create bedroom environments that practically announce their social nature from the moment you step through the door. Their spaces function as extensions of their social lives, designed around their fundamental need for human connection and external stimulation. Take Sarah's bedroom, which perfectly demonstrates how extroverts unconsciously broadcast their personality through environmental choices. Her walls are covered with group photos from every phase of her life: high school friends, college roommates, work colleagues, and weekend adventure buddies. These aren't just decorative choices. They're identity claims about her social connections and her ability to maintain friendships across different contexts. The photos serve as visual proof of her social success and create conversation starters for anyone who enters her space. Sarah's furniture arrangement tells an equally revealing story. Despite living in a small apartment, she's managed to squeeze in multiple seating options: a desk chair, floor cushions, and a small bench at the foot of her bed. This setup reflects the extrovert's unconscious expectation that social interaction could happen at any time. Even her most private space is designed to accommodate group conversations and spontaneous gatherings. The behavioral residue in Sarah's room provides honest evidence of her social patterns. Multiple phone chargers scattered around reflect her constant communication needs and heavy social media usage. Empty glasses and plates in various locations show evidence of recent social gatherings. Her makeup and grooming supplies spread across multiple surfaces reveal her preparation rituals for social interactions and her need to be ready for impromptu social opportunities. Party memorabilia takes up permanent residence in extrovert bedrooms, functioning as both identity claims and thoughts and feelings regulators. Sarah keeps concert tickets, festival wristbands, and event passes displayed on her mirror, creating a visual timeline of her social adventures. String lights hang year-round because they maintain that party atmosphere that energizes extroverts. These items aren't just decorations, they're environmental reminders of social celebration that boost mood and energy levels when she's alone. The psychology behind these choices relates to how extroverts process energy and motivation. They literally need external stimulation to feel normal, and visual reminders of social connections provide that stimulation even during solitude. The group photos and social memorabilia function as regulatory tools, helping maintain energy levels and positive mood when separated from their social networks. These items reinforce their sense of identity and social value. Minimalist aesthetics prove nearly impossible for extroverts because they require constant visual input to feel comfortable. Sarah's room contains colorful objects, busy patterns, and multiple layers of decoration that would overwhelm someone with different sensory preferences. 6 different throw pillows, 3 types of lighting, and decorative objects covering every surface aren't excessive for her. They're creating the level of visual stimulation her brain requires to feel energized and content. Personal items get displayed in ways that invite conversation and connection. Sarah's guitar sits prominently visible, serving as both an identity claim about her musical talents and a conversation starter for visitors. Her book collection, art supplies, and hobby materials are positioned where others can easily see them, providing social ammunition for bonding over shared interests. These items function as both self-expression and social tools. Technology placement reveals communication priorities and social connectivity needs. Sarah's charging stations are positioned for easy access during social interactions. Her gaming system and entertainment equipment are set up for group use rather than solitary enjoyment. Her laptop is positioned where others can easily see the screen, creating opportunities for shared digital experiences and social media interaction. Storage solutions prioritize accessibility over organization because extroverts need quick access to social supplies. Sarah keeps snacks, drinks, and entertainment options easily reachable for spontaneous social situations. Extra blankets, pillows, and seating options remain readily available for impromptu gatherings and overnight guests. Even her most private areas contain elements designed to accommodate others. The most revealing aspect is how extroverts balance personal space with social preparation. Sarah has guest towels in her bedroom and extra toiletries easily accessible, unconsciously preparing her personal space for social interaction. She arranges her personal items considering how others might perceive them, constantly thinking about her social image, even in private moments. Color choices and lighting preferences tend toward bright, energizing options that create an upbeat atmosphere. Sarah has multiple light sources and colorful decorations, creating an environment that supports her high-energy social personality. Bold patterns and vibrant colors reflect her need for stimulation and her comfort with attention-grabbing aesthetics. Research by personality psychologist Samuel Gosling confirms that bedrooms effectively reveal extroversion traits. His studies show that strangers can accurately identify extroverted personalities by scanning rooms for social cues like group photos, party decorations, and furniture arrangements designed for multiple people. These environmental signals communicate sociability more reliably than many formal personality assessments. Extroverts literally cannot hide their social nature, even in their most private spaces. Their rooms function as social headquarters disguised as personal spaces, revealing their deepest psychological patterns through environmental evidence. Every arrangement choice, decoration decision, and organizational pattern reflects their fundamental need for social energy and human interaction. Spot these signs. If a room looks built for a party, you're probably looking at an outgoing personality. But what happens when your room screams, "I'm an introvert"? Introverts' rooms look like personal sanctuaries designed to broadcast their need for solitude and quiet in the most polite way possible. The moment you step into an introvert's bedroom, you're hit with environmental evidence that this person has mastered the art of creating personal space that supports their psychological needs. Take Michael's bedroom, which perfectly demonstrates how introverts unconsciously create fortress-like environments. His bed is positioned in the corner against two walls, creating a sense of protection and control over his immediate environment. This isn't accidental. Introverts instinctively arrange their furniture to create psychological buffer zones that allow them to focus without monitoring their environment for social threats. His desk faces away from the door, creating a barrier between his personal activities and potential social intrusion. The most revealing elements are Michael's sensory regulation tools, which function as essential equipment for his psychological well-being. Blackout curtains hang permanently closed, paired with noise-canceling headphones positioned within easy reach of his bed. These aren't decorative choices. They're practical tools for managing his environment to support his introverted nature and minimize distractions. The blackout curtains allow complete control over his visual environment, while the headphones create auditory barriers between himself and external stimulation. Michael's lighting choices reflect his need for gentle, controllable illumination that supports his sensory preferences. Multiple dim light sources replace harsh overhead lighting. Lamps, string lights, and candles create an environment that prevents overstimulation and mental fatigue. This soft lighting serves as a thoughts and feelings regulator that helps him maintain his energy levels and emotional stability throughout the day. The behavioral residue in Michael's room tells an honest story about his actual lifestyle patterns. His extensive book collection shows signs of frequent reading, revealing his investment in solitary learning and entertainment. Well-used art supplies scattered around his desk provide evidence of regular creative activity. Multiple journals in various stages of completion demonstrate his ongoing relationship with self-reflection and internal processing. These items aren't just identity claims about his interests. They're tools that actively support his need for reflection and recharging. Storage solutions in introvert bedrooms reflect their preference for organization and control over their personal environment. Michael has created organized systems for his belongings that make sense only to him, designing his space around his actual lifestyle patterns rather than guest accommodation. His frequently used items remain easily accessible, while social or rarely used items stay stored out of sight. This arrangement supports his need for structure and personal organization without considering how others might navigate his space. Technology placement reveals introverts' relationship with connectivity and social interaction. Michael's phone charging station is positioned away from his bed, creating boundaries between his rest space and social connectivity. His computer and entertainment systems are set up for individual use rather than group activities, designed around his preference for solitary engagement. High-quality headphones and personal entertainment equipment create infrastructure for solo activities and internal stimulation. The psychology behind these environmental choices relates to how introverts process stimulation and manage their energy levels. Unlike extroverts who need external stimulation to feel normal, introverts require low-stimulation environments to maintain their psychological well-being. Every arrangement choice, lighting decision, and organizational pattern reflects their fundamental need for controlled, peaceful environments that support their inner-directed lifestyle. Color choices tend toward calming, neutral tones that support relaxation and mental clarity. Michael chooses soft, muted colors over bright, stimulating ones, creating an environment that supports his need for mental peace. Natural materials and textures connect with elements that promote calm and grounding. He avoids busy patterns and overwhelming visual elements, managing his environment to prevent sensory overload. Seating arrangements discourage group conversations and social gatherings in ways that are both practical and unconscious. While extroverts create multiple seating options for visitors, Michael has just enough furniture for his personal use. His single chair is positioned for solitary activities, making a clear statement about his social preferences. This setup naturally creates barriers between his personal space and potential social intrusion. The most fascinating aspect is how these rooms function as personal retreat centers designed to support energy restoration and mental clarity. Michael's space is carefully curated to provide exactly the type of environment that introverts need to recharge and maintain their psychological well-being. His room arrangement sends clear signals about his relationship with social energy and his preference for controlled, peaceful environments. Personal items are arranged to support individual activities and self-reflection rather than social interaction. Michael's mirror is positioned for personal grooming rather than group use. His clothing and personal items are organized in ways that make sense for his personal routines, creating systems that support his independent lifestyle. He has created designated spaces for different aspects of his life, supporting his need for structured, organized living. Research confirms that strangers can accurately identify introverted personalities by scanning rooms for these environmental cues. The strategic placement of comfort items, the emphasis on sensory control, and the arrangement of furniture for solitary activities all communicate introversion more reliably than many formal personality assessments. These environmental signals reveal deep psychological patterns about energy management and social preferences. When you want peace more than people, your room says it loud and clear, "Quiet, please." But personality reveals itself through more than just social preferences. The way you handle your belongings tells an equally revealing story about your psychological makeup. The neat freak versus the chaos creator. Organization patterns reveal whether your brain operates like a precision instrument or creative chaos, and both extremes think they're completely normal while secretly judging everyone else's choices. The neat freak looks at disorder and sees mental breakdown, while the chaos creator looks at perfect organization and sees psychological rigidity. Take Jennifer's bedroom, which demonstrates how extreme neatness reflects specific personality traits. Her closet is arranged by color, season, and fabric type, with hangers spaced exactly 2 inches apart. Her books are organized alphabetically by author, then chronologically by publication date, with bookmarks placed at precise angles. The person who has a label maker and uses it for everything including their sock drawer is creating external systems that support their internal need for predictability and control. Compare this to Marcus's room, which requires archaeological skills to navigate successfully. His clothing system involves multiple layers of garments scattered across different surfaces, creating a geological record of his daily outfit decisions. The person who has to excavate their desk to find a pen is operating under a completely different organizational philosophy. Their belongings exist in what appears to be random placement, but actually follows complex patterns that make sense only to them. Research by Samuel Gosling confirms that organization levels directly correlate with conscientiousness, one of the big 5 personality traits. Conscientious individuals create neat, orderly environments that reflect their organized approach to life. Their behavioral residue shows consistent patterns of self-discipline and goal achievement. The person whose room reflects organized habits demonstrates behavioral patterns that extend to academic performance, career advancement, and financial management. However, the relationship between organization and personality isn't always straightforward. The person who makes their bed perfectly every morning, but has a junk drawer that could swallow small children, is revealing complex psychological patterns about selective conscientiousness. They invest their organizational energy in visible, symbolic areas while allowing chaos in hidden spaces. This selective organization reflects their psychological priorities and energy allocation patterns. The junk drawer phenomenon represents a fascinating compromise between order and chaos. The person who maintains perfect organization in their main living spaces, but allows complete chaos in designated hidden areas, is creating psychological pressure release valves. Their junk drawer serves as behavioral residue that reveals their actual relationship with organization and control. The perfectly organized person with the chaotic junk drawer is showing that their organizational behavior requires significant mental energy and occasional breaks from rigid structure. The psychology behind these different organizational needs relates to how people process information and manage their mental resources. Some people need visual order to maintain mental clarity and focus. Their brains process multiple stimuli simultaneously, so external clutter creates internal cognitive overload. The person who can't concentrate when their desk is messy isn't being dramatic. They're responding to genuine neurological preferences for organized environments. Their need for visual order functions as a thoughts and feelings regulator that supports their cognitive performance. Others thrive in creative chaos because their thinking patterns match their environmental preferences. The person who claims they know exactly where everything is in their seemingly disorganized room is often telling the truth. Their spatial memory systems work differently, and they've created organizational patterns that support their cognitive style. The chaos creator who can instantly locate a specific book in a pile of 50 isn't being lucky. They're using complex spatial and associative memory systems. The neat freak experiences genuine anxiety when one thing is out of place because their organizational systems represent psychological security. Moving their perfectly arranged items disrupts their sense of control and predictability. The person who straightens other people's belongings without permission is trying to manage their own anxiety by creating order in their environment. Their need for organization goes beyond preference and becomes a psychological necessity for maintaining emotional stability. The chaos creator experiences panic when things are too organized because rigid structure interferes with their thinking processes. The person who becomes stressed in highly organized environments isn't being difficult. They're responding to cognitive constraints that limit their mental flexibility. Their apparent disorganization actually represents complex organizational systems that support their creative and analytical thinking patterns. Organization patterns also reveal deeper psychological needs for control, creativity, and comfort that extend beyond simple cleanliness preferences. The person who organizes their books by emotional impact rather than alphabetical order is using their organizational system to support their psychological processing. Someone who arranges their belongings for easy access rather than visual appeal is prioritizing functional efficiency over aesthetic control. The individual who creates organized chaos where everything has a place, but that place might be unexpected, is balancing their need for access with their comfort with informal structure. Different organizational approaches reflect different cognitive processing styles and personality structures. The person who needs everything in its designated place is often someone who processes information sequentially and prefers predictable patterns. The individual who thrives in organized chaos typically processes information more holistically and enjoys flexible, adaptive systems. The person who switches between extreme organization and complete chaos depending on their stress levels is showing how their psychological state affects their environmental needs. Which side are you on? Glance around your room and decide. The behavioral residue left by your organizational choices tells specific stories about your personality traits and life patterns. The person whose organizational systems are actually being used shows consistency between their intentions and their behavior. Someone whose organizational tools are present, but unused is revealing the gap between their aspirations and their actual habits. Your organization style functions as a window into your brain's operating system, revealing how you process information, manage stress, and allocate mental resources. The way you arrange your belongings shows whether you think in linear or associative patterns, whether you prefer routine or variety, and whether you manage anxiety through control or flexibility. But your organizational choices are just one layer of personality evidence scattered throughout your space. Your decorations are personality confessions. Every decoration choice you make broadcasts specific messages about your personality that strangers can read more accurately than your closest friends. Your aesthetic decisions function as identity claims that communicate your values, interests, and psychological makeup through visual evidence scattered throughout your space. Take the contrast between Emma's photo-covered walls and David's completely bare surfaces. Emma's bedroom walls display a carefully curated collection of group photos, family pictures, and social memories arranged in overlapping clusters that create a visual timeline of her relationships. These photos aren't just decorative choices. They're identity claims about her social connections and her ability to maintain meaningful relationships across different life phases. Research shows that displays of personal photos signal strong social bonds and reveal someone who processes identity through their connections with others. Emma's photo arrangements serve multiple psychological functions beyond simple decoration. The images function as thoughts and feelings regulators that provide emotional comfort and social validation when she's alone. Her bedroom walls create a visual reminder of her social support network, helping maintain her sense of connection and belonging. The strategic placement of these photos near her bed and desk means she encounters these relationship reminders throughout her daily routines, reinforcing her social identity and emotional stability. David's stark white walls tell an equally revealing story about his psychological needs and identity structure. His complete absence of personal photos communicates his comfort with solitude and his preference for minimal environmental stimulation. The person who chooses blank walls over personal displays is revealing their relationship with privacy, their comfort with empty space, and their belief that decoration is unnecessary or distracting. His bare walls function as thoughts and feelings regulators that support his need for mental clarity and reduced visual complexity. The psychology behind these different decorative approaches relates to openness to experience and social connection patterns that predict behavior across multiple life areas. People who display extensive photo collections are typically high in openness and extroversion, using their decorative choices to maintain social connections and create conversation opportunities. Their rooms function as social headquarters where personal displays invite interaction and relationship building. People who prefer minimal or no personal displays are often more introverted and selective about their social connections. Their decorative restraint reflects their comfort with privacy and their preference for controlled social interaction. The person who keeps their personal relationships private through their decorative choices is demonstrating their psychological boundaries and their selective approach to social sharing. Artwork choices reveal equally specific information about personality traits and psychological needs. The person who displays abstract art is revealing their comfort with ambiguity and their appreciation for creative expression that doesn't follow conventional patterns. Their artwork choices show their psychological openness to interpretation and their preference for stimulation that engages their creative thinking processes. Someone who surrounds themselves with experimental or unconventional artwork is demonstrating their comfort with complexity and their need for environmental elements that challenge their mental processes. The person who displays realistic artwork, photographs, or traditional paintings is revealing their preference for familiar and recognizable aesthetic elements. Their artwork choices show their psychological comfort with conventional beauty standards and their preference for decorative elements that communicate clear, understandable messages. Someone who chooses widely accepted artistic standards is demonstrating their preference for aesthetic clarity and their comfort with established cultural patterns. Color choices in decoration reveal specific information about personality traits that extend beyond simple aesthetic preferences. The person who chooses bright, bold colors is revealing their comfort with attention and their need for stimulation and energy in their environment. Their color choices function as thoughts and feelings regulators that support their high-energy personality and their preference for dynamic environments. Someone who surrounds themselves with vibrant colors is showing their psychological need for stimulation and their comfort with environments that demand attention. The person who chooses neutral, muted colors is revealing their preference for calm environments and their need for visual peace in their personal space. Their color choices support their psychological need for reduced stimulation and their preference for environments that promote relaxation and mental clarity. Someone who surrounds themselves with soft, neutral colors is demonstrating their psychological sensitivity to environmental stimulation and their need for spaces that support rather than challenge their mental resources. Decoration patterns reveal fundamental attitudes toward tradition, innovation, and self-expression that predict behavior across multiple life areas. The person who displays family photos, traditional artwork, and conventional decorative elements is revealing their connection to established patterns and their comfort with familiar aesthetic approaches. Their decoration choices show respect for traditional values and their preference for proven rather than experimental aesthetic solutions. The person who fills their space with unique artwork, experimental colors, and unconventional objects is revealing their comfort with innovation and their need for self-expression through their environment. Their decoration choices show their willingness to take aesthetic risks and their preference for individual expression over social conformity. Someone who surrounds themselves with creative and unusual decorative elements is demonstrating their psychological openness to new experiences and their comfort with standing out from conventional aesthetic patterns. Your aesthetic decisions function as identity claims that broadcast your personality traits through visual evidence that anyone can observe and decode. The minimalists' 3 strategically placed items communicate their preference for simplicity and their anxiety about clutter, while the maximalist's 17 different decorative elements reveal their need for constant stimulation and visual complexity. These choices aren't random artistic decisions. They're predictable patterns that reflect your fundamental personality structure. Decoration is more than style. It's you posting a billboard about your personality. But your decorative choices are just the surface layer of what your room reveals about your psychological state. The emotional stability detector hidden in your room. Your room functions as an emotional barometer that reveals your psychological state through specific comfort objects and environmental arrangements. The items you unconsciously collect and the way you arrange your space broadcast detailed information about your emotional regulation strategies and your capacity for managing stress and anxiety. Take the contrast between someone who surrounds themselves with weighted blankets, essential oil diffusers, and multiple comfort pillows versus someone who sleeps with standard bedding and minimal environmental supports. The person who has accumulated an arsenal of comfort objects is revealing their active approach to emotional regulation and their need for external tools to maintain psychological stability. Their weighted blanket serves as a thoughts and feelings regulator that provides physical comfort during anxiety, while their collection of calming scents creates environmental support for stress management. Research by Samuel Gosling demonstrates that strangers can accurately assess emotional stability simply by observing bedroom environments. The presence of specific comfort items and the overall organization of personal space provide measurable clues about someone's inner psychological landscape and their approaches to managing emotional challenges. The anxious person's bedroom typically contains multiple layers of emotional support systems that function as psychological safety nets. Their space might include noise-canceling headphones for sensory regulation, soft lighting options for mood management, and various comfort objects positioned within easy reach. These items aren't random decorative choices. They're strategic tools for managing anxiety and creating environmental conditions that support emotional stability. The person who has created a meditation corner with cushions, candles, and mindfulness tools is demonstrating their investment in internal emotional regulation strategies. Their meditation setup functions as both an identity claim about their approach to mental wellness and a practical space for stress management. Someone who has dedicated physical space to emotional regulation is revealing their understanding of the connection between environment and psychological well-being. Meanwhile, emotionally stable individuals often maintain simpler bedroom environments because they don't require extensive external supports for psychological regulation. Their space reflects internal emotional resilience through the absence of anxiety management tools and comfort-seeking behaviors. The person who sleeps comfortably with minimal environmental modifications is demonstrating their capacity for emotional self-regulation and their reduced need for external psychological supports. Sleep aid collections reveal specific information about anxiety levels and emotional regulation challenges. The person who has melatonin supplements, sleep masks, and white noise machines positioned near their bed is showing their active management of sleep anxiety and their understanding of the connection between rest quality and emotional stability. Their sleep support tools function as evidence of their psychological state and their commitment to managing emotional well-being through environmental control. Behavioral residue in the form of stress-eating evidence appears throughout bedrooms as environmental clues about emotional regulation patterns. Empty snack containers, comfort food supplies, and eating-related items scattered around personal spaces reveal someone's relationship with food as emotional management. These items create unintentional evidence of stress levels and coping strategies that extend beyond simple dietary preferences. The psychology behind different comfort object needs relates to individual approaches to emotional regulation and stress management. Some people require external environmental supports to maintain psychological equilibrium, while others have developed internal mechanisms for managing their emotional state. The person who has accumulated multiple comfort tools is using environmental strategies to create the emotional stability that others generate through internal resources. Lighting choices reveal emotional regulation needs and psychological sensitivity to environmental stimulation. The person who has invested in multiple mood lighting options, lamps, candles, string lights, and adjustable fixtures, is demonstrating their understanding that environmental conditions directly affect their emotional state. Their lighting collection functions as thoughts and feelings regulators that help maintain psychological comfort through precise environmental control. Room maintenance patterns reflect emotional stability through someone's capacity for consistent self-care and environmental management. The person who maintains organized, clean spaces regardless of their emotional state is demonstrating psychological resilience and their ability to uphold standards during challenging periods. Their consistent environmental care reflects internal emotional resources and their understanding of the connection between physical space and mental well-being. Cleanliness fluctuations reveal the connection between internal psychological condition and external environmental management. The person whose room organization varies dramatically with their emotional state is showing their relationship between stress levels and environmental control capacity. Their cleaning patterns function as behavioral residue that reveals emotional cycles and their reliance on external order for internal psychological stability. Your bedroom essentially serves as a comprehensive emotional support system that reveals your specific psychological needs and regulation strategies. Every comfort object, environmental modification, and organizational choice broadcasts information about your emotional requirements and your approaches to managing psychological challenges. The specific tools you've unconsciously collected create a readable map of your inner emotional landscape. Think about your own room. What comfort tools do you depend on? The answer reveals more about your emotional regulation style than you might realize. But your psychological needs aren't the only thing your space broadcasts about your personality. Your room also the agreeableness clues you can't hide. Certain environmental choices reveal whether you naturally consider others or focus primarily on your own needs, though the research on reading agreeableness from bedrooms shows mixed results. While Samuel Gosling's landmark study demonstrated that strangers could accurately assess several personality traits from bedroom environments, agreeableness proved more difficult to detect through environmental cues alone. The clearest indicator appears in guest accommodation patterns that suggest social orientation and relationship priorities. Take the person who keeps extra towels folded neatly in their bedroom, maintains guest-ready spaces, and has backup phone chargers easily accessible for visitors. These choices reflect automatic consideration of others' comfort needs and suggest someone who naturally thinks about social accommodation, even in their private space. Compare this to someone whose room serves only their personal preferences without considering potential visitors. Their space might lack basic amenities for guests or even adequate supplies for themselves, focusing entirely on individual comfort and convenience. The person who has invested in expensive personal items but doesn't own a single extra towel is revealing their individualistic approach to space design. Guest towels in a bedroom represent one of the most telling environmental clues about social consideration patterns. The person who maintains bathroom supplies that others might need is demonstrating their helpful nature and their automatic attention to others' comfort. Someone who keeps extra toiletries, clean towels, and basic amenities available for potential overnight guests is showing their cooperative social orientation through practical accommodation behaviors. The psychology behind these accommodation patterns relates to fundamental differences in social awareness and relationship priorities. People who naturally consider others' needs create environments that reflect their cooperative nature through environmental evidence of their accommodation patterns. Their room arrangement demonstrates their understanding that private spaces might occasionally serve social functions and their willingness to prepare for those situations. Meanwhile, people who design their spaces entirely around personal preferences without considering others are showing their individualistic approach to relationships and space management. Their environmental choices reflect their focus on personal needs over social accommodation, revealing their self-directed rather than other-directed social orientation. Room temperature settings provide another window into social consideration patterns. The person who maintains their bedroom at a level that accommodates average comfort preferences rather than their personal ideal is demonstrating their automatic attention to others' needs. Someone who adjusts their personal environment to consider potential visitors' comfort is showing their cooperative relationship style through environmental modification. Seating arrangements reveal social accommodation through furniture positioning and availability. The person who has arranged their furniture to facilitate conversation and maintains multiple seating options is revealing their consideration of social interaction possibilities. Someone who positions chairs to create welcoming conversation areas, even in their private space, is demonstrating their cooperative nature through environmental design. However, Gosling's research shows that personality assessment from environmental cues works better for some traits than others. While strangers could accurately identify conscientiousness, emotional stability, and openness to new experiences from bedroom environments, traits like agreeableness proved more challenging to detect through environmental evidence alone. The social accommodation patterns visible in bedrooms provide some insight into relationship orientation, but they don't tell the complete story about someone's cooperative versus competitive nature. The person who displays group photos prominently throughout their space is making identity claims about their social connections and their positive approach to relationships. Someone who chooses to showcase their social bonds is demonstrating their investment in maintaining relationships with others, though this could reflect social identity rather than fundamental agreeableness. Sharing behaviors appear through environmental evidence, like communal supplies and entertainment options positioned for group use. The person who has snacks, drinks, and games easily accessible for others is revealing their cooperative nature through resource-sharing patterns. Someone who maintains supplies that others might enjoy is showing their consideration of social needs through practical accommodation. Storage of personal items reveals consideration patterns through accessibility and organization choices. The person who keeps their personal belongings organized in ways that accommodate others' access is demonstrating their cooperative social orientation. Someone who arranges their space to consider how others might navigate and use their environment is showing their helpful nature through environmental design. The most reliable environmental indicator of social consideration appears to be the presence of guest accommodation supplies and the arrangement of space to facilitate social interaction. The person who has invested time and resources in creating comfort for potential visitors is revealing their relationship priorities through environmental evidence. Someone who maintains guest-ready spaces, even when they're not expecting visitors, is demonstrating their automatic consideration of others' needs. Personal grooming and hygiene supplies reveal social awareness through their organization and accessibility. The person who keeps extra toiletries and personal care items available for others is showing their consideration of social needs through practical accommodation. Someone who maintains supplies that guests might need is demonstrating their helpful nature through environmental preparation. The research suggests that while environmental cues provide some insight into social orientation, they don't capture the full complexity of agreeableness as a personality trait. The accommodation patterns visible in bedrooms reflect social consideration and relationship priorities, but they represent just one dimension of cooperative versus competitive social orientation. Organizing for guests shows you value relationships and consider others' comfort needs in your personal space. Neglecting these accommodation patterns suggests you're more self-focused and prioritize individual preferences over social consideration. These environmental choices create observable evidence of your fundamental approach to relationships and social interaction. But here's what might surprise you about who can actually read these personality clues most accurately from your bedroom environment. The strangers versus friends experiment that changes everything. Samuel Gosling's landmark experiment produced a surprising insight from a classic psychology experiment that challenges basic assumptions about who really understands your personality. The research setup was straightforward. 80 college students had their personalities evaluated by both close friends and complete strangers, with one crucial difference in how each group gathered their information. The close friends filled out detailed personality questionnaires using months or years of personal knowledge. They knew these students through conversations, shared experiences, and intimate moments. They understood their social patterns, relationship history, and emotional tendencies through countless interactions and deep personal connections. These friends had witnessed the students in various social situations, stressful moments, and relaxed environments, observing how they behaved in relationships, handled conflicts, and approached new experiences. The strangers received clipboards, 15 minutes in each dorm room, and instructions to fill out identical personality questionnaires based purely on environmental evidence. They had no conversations, no personal history, and no shared experiences. Their only information came from observing belongings, arrangements, and environmental clues scattered throughout these private spaces. The results revealed that friends excelled at predicting extroversion and agreeableness, which makes perfect sense because these traits require social interaction to observe properly. You need to see someone in social situations to understand their sociability and cooperative tendencies. Friends had witnessed these students at parties, in group settings, and during interpersonal interactions that revealed their social energy and relationship approaches. However, strangers significantly outperformed close friends at predicting conscientiousness, emotional stability, and openness to new experiences. This finding suggests that environmental evidence reveals these personality traits more clearly than personal relationships and social interactions. The strangers could read organizational patterns, emotional regulation tools, and creative expression through bedroom arrangements that friends had never specifically analyzed or connected to personality dimensions. Your friends might know certain aspects of your personality less accurately than a random person with 15 minutes in your room because they focus on your social presentation rather than your private behavioral patterns. Friends see your conscious social performance and the identity you choose to project during interactions. They know what you tell them about yourself and what you choose to share during conversations. Strangers see your unconscious behavioral residue and your unfiltered environmental choices that reveal personality traits you might not even recognize in yourself. The specific traits most visible through environmental evidence create measurable physical evidence in personal spaces. Conscientiousness shows up through organization patterns, cleanliness levels, and systematic arrangements that strangers can observe and quantify. Emotional stability appears through comfort objects, regulation tools, and environmental control measures that reveal anxiety levels and coping strategies. Openness to new experiences manifests through creative decorations, unconventional arrangements, and diverse interests displayed throughout the space. This research has practical implications for dating, roommate selection, and first impressions that extend beyond academic psychology. The person you're considering as a romantic partner might reveal more about their personality through their bedroom than through months of carefully managed social interactions. Their organizational patterns, emotional regulation tools, and creative expression provide unfiltered insight into their psychological makeup that social presentations might mask or misrepresent. Roommate selection becomes a different process when you understand that bedroom environments reveal personality traits more accurately than interviews or social meetings for certain dimensions. The potential roommate, who seems agreeable and cooperative during your coffee meeting, might show different patterns through their space arrangement. Their private environmental choices reveal their actual living habits, cleanliness standards, and consideration for others more accurately than their social presentation. First impressions gain new significance when you realize that environmental evidence provides immediate access to personality information that might take months to discover through social interaction. The person whose apartment you visit for the first time is providing you with detailed personality data through their decoration choices, organization patterns, and environmental arrangements. Their space reveals their conscientiousness, emotional stability, and openness to new experiences before they have a chance to consciously manage these impressions. The implications challenge fundamental assumptions about intimacy and understanding in relationships. Your closest friends might understand your social behavior and relationship patterns while missing your private personality traits and psychological patterns. They see your conscious choices and social presentation, while strangers see your unconscious behavioral patterns and environmental evidence. This suggests that different types of knowledge provide different insights into personality structure. Friends excel at reading social personality dimensions because they observe your interactive behavior and relationship patterns through direct experience. They understand your extroversion through your social energy and your agreeableness through your cooperative tendencies because they've witnessed these traits in action. However, they might miss your private personality traits because they focus on your social presentation rather than your environmental evidence. Strangers excel at reading private personality dimensions because they observe your unfiltered behavioral residue and environmental choices without the distraction of social interaction. They see your organizational patterns, emotional regulation tools, and creative expression through objective analysis of physical evidence. Their lack of personal relationship allows them to focus purely on environmental clues that reveal personality traits through measurable evidence. Environmental psychology provides access to personality information that social interaction might miss or misinterpret. Your bedroom reveals your private behavioral patterns, emotional needs, and psychological structure through observable evidence that strangers can read and quantify. These environmental clues function as an objective personality assessment that bypasses social presentation and conscious impression management. Your room functions as a continuous personality test that strangers can grade more accurately than your best friends for specific psychological dimensions. The environmental evidence provides unfiltered access to your conscientiousness, emotional stability, and openness to new experiences through behavioral residue, organizational patterns, and creative expression. This personality assessment runs continuously as you make unconscious choices about your environment, creating a detailed psychological profile that trained observers can read and interpret. Next time you meet someone, don't judge their book by their social charm alone. Look at their space too. The combination of social interaction and environmental observation provides the most complete picture of someone's personality, revealing both their public presentation and their private psychological patterns through different types of evidence. Your room's psychological autopsy report. Now let me show you how all these personality clues work together through a real example from Gosling's university research. Picture a typical college dorm room that strangers analyzed during his 15-minute personality assessment experiment. This single case study demonstrates how identity claims, behavioral residue, and thoughts and feelings regulators combine to create an accurate psychological profile. The room belonged to a student whose friends described as somewhat disorganized but creative and emotionally sensitive. When strangers entered with their clipboards, they immediately noticed the unmade bed with clothes scattered across the comforter. Classic behavioral residue, revealing low conscientiousness through accidental evidence of daily habits. The scattered clothing wasn't a deliberate design choice, but unintentional traces of someone who struggles with domestic maintenance and organization. A guitar leaned prominently against the wall where visitors would immediately spot it, functioning as an identity claim about musical interests and creative abilities. The strategic placement suggested the student wanted others to know about their musical talents. Nearby music theory books showed actual engagement, rather than just aspirational ownership, supporting the identity claim with evidence of genuine interest and skill development. The desk area revealed the complex interplay between all three evidence categories. Multiple empty coffee cups created behavioral residue, showing caffeine consumption patterns and relationship with cleanliness. Above the desk, motivational quotes and a vision board functioned as thoughts and feelings regulators designed to maintain focus and emotional state during study sessions. The quotes suggested someone who needs external reminders for motivation, revealing their approach to emotional regulation and self-management. Books scattered throughout the room provided multiple types of evidence simultaneously. Romance novels on the nightstand with bookmarks at various stages served as both behavioral residue from actual reading habits and thoughts and feelings regulators for emotional escapism. Self-help books about productivity mixed with textbooks functioned as identity claims about intellectual interests, while revealing awareness of their organizational challenges. The walls displayed family photos positioned where visitors would notice them, claiming connection to close relationships. Concert posters and travel photos served as identity claims about social activities and adventurous spirit. String lights around the room's perimeter functioned as thoughts and feelings regulators, creating ambient lighting for mood management and suggesting someone who needs environmental control for emotional stability. Technology placement revealed additional personality patterns through behavioral residue. Multiple phone chargers scattered around the room suggested someone who frequently misplaces items and compensates with backups. The laptop positioned on the bed surrounded by papers showed informal work habits and comfort with unstructured environments, contradicting any identity claims about being highly organized. Sleep-related items provided insight into emotional regulation needs. The bed contained multiple pillows, including a body pillow, suggesting someone who needs comfort objects for emotional security. A white noise machine on the nightstand functioned as a thoughts and feelings regulator for managing sleep environment and anxiety levels. These items revealed the student's approach to creating psychological comfort through environmental control. Exercise equipment in the corner told a complex story about aspirations versus actual behavior. Running shoes were prominently displayed, but showed minimal wear patterns, suggesting identity claims about being athletic that didn't match actual activity levels. This gap between displayed identity and behavioral evidence revealed the difference between how the student wanted to be perceived versus their actual habits. The strangers analyzing this room accurately predicted the student's moderate to low conscientiousness through the organizational patterns and maintenance behaviors. They identified emotional sensitivity through the abundance of comfort objects and mood regulation tools. They recognized high openness to new experiences through creative interests, diverse reading materials, and willingness to try different self-improvement approaches. This analysis took exactly 15 minutes and proved more accurate than close friends' assessments for conscientiousness, emotional stability, and openness to new experiences. The environmental evidence provided unfiltered access to personality traits that social interactions might mask or misrepresent. The students' unconscious behavioral patterns and conscious environmental choices created a readable psychological profile that strangers could decode through systematic observation. The power of this approach lies in how the three evidence categories work together to create a complete personality picture. Identity claims show who someone wants to be perceived as being. Behavioral residue reveals who they actually are through their unconscious habits. Thoughts and feelings regulators demonstrate how they manage their emotional state and psychological needs. The combination provides a comprehensive personality assessment that bypasses social presentation and impression management. Understanding these environmental clues transforms how you read personality through physical spaces. The person who displays achievements while neglecting daily maintenance reveals specific patterns about their psychological priorities. Someone who invests in emotional regulation tools while avoiding basic organization shows their approach to self-care and personal management. These patterns become obvious once you know how to read the environmental evidence. This knowledge has practical applications for understanding yourself and others through environmental awareness. You can recognize your own personality patterns in your spaces and identify areas where your environment might work against your goals. Understanding others' environmental choices helps you recognize their psychological needs and communication styles without relying solely on social interaction and conscious self-presentation. In 15 minutes, you can read a person's true self from these clues. The environmental evidence provides access to personality information that months of social interaction might never reveal, creating opportunities for deeper understanding and more authentic connections based on genuine psychological insight rather than carefully managed social impressions. The science behind environmental psychology reveals patterns that most people never consciously recognize. Your room functions as a continuous personality broadcast, revealing traits through identity claims, behavioral residue, and emotional regulators that strangers can decode with surprising accuracy. Research shows that clearing physical clutter actually improves mental focus and decision-making abilities, demonstrating how environmental changes directly impact cognitive performance. Your space genuinely reflects your psychological state, and small organizational improvements can create measurable behavioral shifts. Look around your room right now. What secret is it telling the world? Leave a comment below sharing what you discovered about your own personality through your environmental choices. If you want more psychology hacks that reveal hidden patterns in human behavior, hit subscribe. Understanding these environmental clues transforms how you read both yourself